What's up with y'all boys and girls, man? Hey, it's Jay Briggs here continuing to cook up this NBA action, man. Y'all know we do it on the jam session. We cook up every single game, every single day, man. New month, new year, new goals, new opportunities, man. Hey, last year's last year, man. We did not close it off on the right foot. Y'all know me, I always call a spade a spade. That was last year's news, though, man. I'm ready to start this one off on the right foot, ready to kick the crap out of the books, ready to do what we do. Just make money betting hoops, man. Not a huge card today, but solid. And I'm going to break down exactly why I feel how I feel on these games. And hopefully we come out green on the other side. I appreciate each and every one of you that continue to tune in and watch this video. Money Making Wednesday, ladies and gentlemen, man. Hey, let's do what we do, man. Let's make some money tonight. Of course, you can scoop on my best bet over at Pickdawgz Premium. You can hop on something long term. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter. Both of those are linked in the description below. But without further ado, let's hop right into tonight's NBA action. First game up, we're in Detroit, where the Pistons are 2.5-point home favorites over the Orlando Magic. Hey, Magic, they're banged up. They're banged up, man. Wagner, of course, still out. He'll be out till about mid of the month. Paolo Banchero, he could be back within the week. Keep an eye out on him. He will not play today, though. Jalen Suggs and Anthony Black are both listed as game time decision. Two huge pieces for this team. But honestly, with them or without them, I think the number, I think the spot and situation put me on the Detroit Pistons. Detroit, it's a bounce back spot at home that also happens to be a revenge game. Detroit, of course, just lost their last game to the to the Denver Nuggets. Final score in that game was 134-121 in Denver. That's a tough spot for Detroit, though. We know what's up with the Nuggets, especially at home. The Nuggets needed a bounce back game in that spot as well. But in the revenge spot here for Detroit, they lost to the Orlando Magic back in November on the 23rd. 111-100. I like what I've seen from Detroit in certain spots, certain situations. I don't like betting Orlando on the road as much as I do at home. We know what's up with Orlando at home, at the crib. It's not the line, the spot, the situation, everything here tells me Detroit. I won't overcomplicate it. I'll lay it here with the Pistons in our first game of the day. Next game up, we have your Chicago Bulls laying 6.5, 5.5 points on the Washington Wizards. Do your line shopping. I made these graphics earlier this morning, so the line might be off by like half a point, as some of these lines grow throughout the day, but y'all get the point. I like the Wizards plus the points at home here in this one. Wizards have played much improved basketball towards the end of December, and I like the way they played Charlotte. I like the way they played the Knicks. That first game, they should have beat the Knicks in that first game. They went to overtime. And they played them tough the second game. The Knicks kind of extended the lead there in the end to make it look worse than what it was. The Wizards are playing better basketball. Some of the best basketball I've seen this team play in the last 2 seasons. I know the Bulls have played their better basketball on the road this season, but I don't know if I'm rushing to lay this many points with Chicago in this spot, in this situation. It's a bounce-back spot at home that also happens to be a revenge game for the Washington Wizards. I'm going to take the Wizards plus the points. Don't want to overcomplicate it. Just leaning on my spots, leaning on my situations. Let's keep it rolling. Next game up, we're in Miami, where the Heat are 8.5-point home favorites over the New Orleans Pelicans. Hey, these are two teams in two situations I don't like. If you know me, man, if you're an OG here, you know over the last couple seasons, laying extended numbers with Miami usually or running the other way. This is a team that typically doesn't win by margin, especially at home. The problem is, on the flip side of this game, is the New Orleans Pelicans, who for most of the season was the number 1 team on the do not bet list. They're currently number 2. Technically still could be number 1, but they're number 2 right now. As you see on your screen, 12-21 against the number. This team has been terrible. I don't like the spot for the Pelicans. They're coming off an extended homestand. They just played, 5-6 games straight at home. Now they're on the road. Miami does get Jimmy Butler back. Does that kind of mess up the flow, or does that give them the presence that they need again? As the trade rumors still swirl. forced to play this game, I would fade the Pelicans. Their ass. They're on the DMB for a reason. Miami is not. Miami is bettable in certain spots and situations. This is not a typical Miami spot, but somebody has to win. Somebody has to cover. And I think when this one's all said and done, we're probably looking like at a 10, 11 point Miami Heat win. I'll lay the points with these boys. Here in this one. We keep it rolling. Next game up. We're in New York, where the Knicks are 12.5 point home favorites over the Utah Jazz. Hey, y'all already know. The Knicks, overrated and overvalued. That's my thoughts. That's my opinion. You can't change it. It is what it is. Shout out the Knicks, though, because I actually like them in this spot and situation. I've said it a couple times. Overrated and overvalued teams do win and cover in certain spots and situations. The Knicks are not the money-making machine a lot of you want to portray them to be, but they're not as bad as I try to portray them to be a lot of the time either. There's a little middle ground there. They're 2 games above 500 right now, ATS currently, and I think they go up 3 games after today. I just like the spot for them. Revenge game at home at the crib. They lost to Utah earlier this season in Utah, 121-106 back in November. I think they get that back in blood, honestly. They've been playing some solid basketball recently. Overrated and overvalued teams do win and cover sometimes, and I think this is just a good spot for the Knicks to get it done in the revenge game. I don't like betting Utah on the road. Utah has died on the vine in a couple spots recently, and I think this might be another one. Give me the Knicks. Don't want to overcomplicate it. I'll lay the points with these boys at home in the Garden. Next game up, we're in Toronto, where the Raptors are now 2.5 point home favorites in this game. They were 1.5 point home dogs earlier this morning. This line has continued to grow towards Toronto. Mainly the reason being is health. It's looking like Grady Dick and RJ Barrett are likely to play. Keep an eye on that as this progresses. When they were dogs this morning, I was leaning towards Toronto plus the 1.5, mainly because as home underdogs, man, they've been cashing like nobody's business in that spot, in that situation this season. But now that they're favorites, now that we actually need them to win and win by margin, I'm not as in love with it. They're 0-2 this season when they're listed as favorites against the number. So this is not their spot. This is not their situation. You see, Brooklyn's been a solid ATS team this season as well. I'm not in love with this game. I'm just call a spade a spade. I loved it much better when I was getting 1.5 points with Toronto as a home underdog. But laying points with them, forced to play the game is where I would be because it's still under a bucket at 2.5, but not in love with it, man. I'm not in love with it. So Toronto's the play. Not one I'm rushing to the winner to bet, though. Let's keep it rolling. Next game up, we got my favorite team, the Dallas Mavericks, out on the road facing the Houston Rockets. Houston, we have a problem. The problem is I have to fade my Dallas Mavericks, man. I'm on the Rockets at home, at the crib. Y'all know the Rockets go stupid, dummy, crazy at home. Short, sweet, simple. I don't even have to rattle off the numbers to y'all. I've rattled them off to y'all for the last 2 seasons. What the Rockets are as home favorites, as at home overall. This is their spot. They go crazy at the crib. My Mavs were banged up. We're missing our best player, low key, in my opinion, the best player in the league in Luka Doncic. I know Kyrie may be back in this one. I know Clay probably back in this one, but we saw the Rockets beat up on my Mavs earlier this season in Dallas. And it wouldn't shock me if they did it again here in this spot. My Mavs will be back. I still think Dallas is the best team in the Western Conference. When it's all said and done, I think Dallas will be representing the West again in the NBA Finals. But there's just certain spots and situations where the Mavs are not going to prevail. And I think tonight might be one of those. I know the Mavs still, over the last 2 seasons, have been one of the best road ATS teams, but that's mainly as favorites. The Rockets, when they're favored at home, y'all know what they do. And they probably do it to my favorite team tonight. Give me Houston. Houston, we have a problem. I'm fading my Mavs, but it's for the right reasons. Give me the Rockets. Laying the points. Here it is. We keep it rolling. Next game up, We're in Denver, where the Chicken Nuggets are 5.5-point home favorites over the Atlanta Hawks. Total 246.5. Look, I know the Nuggets haven't been that same team this season, but I'm on them in this spot. But you know why? Because I trust them. You know why I trust them? Because they go stupid, dummy, crazy at home, at the crib in Denver. That's my story. I'm sticking to it, ladies and gentlemen. I know the Hawks have played well this season as away underdogs. I know they've played well against the better teams in the league this season. But I think Denver, who already flooded them earlier this season in Atlanta, likely floods them again. I think it's just a bad matchup for the Hawks. When I just look at player for player, man for man, roster for roster, I think it's just some teams don't match up well with some teams in the NBA from a personnel perspective. And I think that's just the case in this one. So not overcomplicating it, man. We're getting Denver at home, at the crib, where we trust them, where we love them, where we've made, man, tons of money over the last couple seasons betting them. We're fading the Hawks. They're off the DNB. They're not the outright fade number one team on the do not bet list like they have been over the last season. But as you see on your screen, they're still not a profitable team this season. If you've been betting Atlanta, you still have been losing money for the most part. So I think this is another spot that's just too tough of an ask for the Hawks. I think the Nuggets, who we trust at home, get this one done. I'll lay it. Last and final game of the night, we got the Sacramento Kings laying 6.5 points on the Philadelphia 76ers. Hey, I told you earlier the Pelicans are no longer the number one team on the do not bet list. Of the number two team. Honestly, both of these two teams were in contention for the spot, but one team is just god-awful, and that's the Sacramento Kings. 11-21-1 ATS this season are the Sacramento Kings. That's league worst. And this team has no business laying this many points. The Sixers, they're bad. They're a bad basketball team. I get it. I'm with you. But I'm getting 6.5 in my back pocket. The Kings, I know they won their last game, covered in that last game, but they weren't playing the B team for my Mavs. Like, let's just be real. Let's just call a spade a spade. And they were down big early in that basketball game. I know they fired Coach Mike Brown. They're trying to take on a new identity. They've taken more threes recently, but this is still a team that I don't think can compete from the three-point line on a consistent basis. And that's an issue when you're laying points with a team. So I think that's the main reason why Sacramento is so bad this season. Their three best players are all trying to shoot mid-range and get to the basket. DeMar DeRozan, the mid-range assassin. DeMar, can you shoot a three? All he does is shoot mid-range. De'Aaron Fox, all he's trying to do is get to the basket, shoot a mid-range pull-up, and then Sabonis, back to the basket, mid-range game. We already know. So that's the issue with the Kings. And until the books realize that and adjust numbers, I can't lay the points with them. That's why they're the worst ATS team in the league, and that's why they're getting faded tonight. So in our last and final game of the night, I haven't bet them often, but I actually like the spot for them tonight. I'm on the Philadelphia 76ers plus the points. Let's close that our night. And that's going to conclude this episode of my NBA Jam Session. As always, I appreciate each and every one of you that continue to tune in and watch this video. New month, new year, new goals, new opportunities, ladies and gentlemen. Let's do what we do. Start the year off on the right foot. Let's kick the crap out of the books. I appreciate y'all more than y'all know, man. More than y'all know. We'll have the props back tomorrow, for real. Graphics back today, props back tomorrow. It'll be a gradual thing. But appreciate y'all more than y'all know, man. You can scoop up my NBA Player of the Day over at Pickdawgz Premium. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter. There's a link for all of that in the description below. It's been your guy, Jay Briggs, man. I'll see y'all tomorrow. I'm out of here.